In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the latest iteration of the HoneyCrisp Emulator. This iteration is version 1.3.4 and includes several major bug fixes along with some brand new enhancements and features in which we are going to be taking a look at today. One of those features is the emulation of compact flash storage for the Apple I, which effectively allows a user to store data and programs in up to 32 megabyte diskette files. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so if you look down below the program management section where the tape file loader panel is at, if you look to the right, you'll see this new panel titled Compact Flash Image Loader. And basically what this is just a simple browsing system that allows you to browse for a ProDOS formatted PO file that is effectively in the ProDOS diskette order that contains data for the compact flash firmware to read. But before we do that, and start mounting a image so we can load and save files to and from it, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what the actual firmware looks like. So let's go ahead and reset the system. And then we are going to type 9000R to execute the initialization routines for the CFFA1 ROM. And as you can see here, it printed out the contents of 9000 and then dropped us into this prompt here. Now, if we type the question mark, it will take us to the menu. And so, as you can see here, we clearly have quite a bit of operations that we can do from here, most of which are related to read and write operations of the actual emulated diskette system. Now, if we try to use any of these read and write operations without there being a diskette actively mounted, a I/O error of 27 will occur. This is just due to the firmware ROM not being able to find any mounted diskette. And so that takes us back down to this little panel here where we're going to browse for a file to load into the HoneyCrisp emulator so we can read and write from it. And so I'll be right back after I mount the image. And now if we try to catalog to effectively view the contents of the disk image that I've mounted, you'll see that now we have a directory system, and here we can go ahead and type escape to return back to the menu. But as you can see, we have several different directories on the root of this disk image. And so to prevent the menu from reappearing every time I finish listing out the contents of a directory, we are going to press T for the terse option, and this will effectively make it to where every time we list a directory or do a file operation, the menu will not print unless we explicitly type the question mark to print the menu. And so again, we're going to catalog the disk, and you can see that we have our file names, our type of file that it is, and then the amount of blocks on the diskette that the files are taking up. And then it gives us an overall summary of our usage of the diskette, our blocks free, and the overall total amount of blocks on the diskette. And so now we can go ahead and change, say, into the basic directory by pressing P, and it will bring up this command prompt that essentially is asking us for the prefix directory. And so we are going to type basic, and then it will print 00 success. This effectively means that the system has successfully changed into the basic directory. So if we catalog again, you'll see that the directory is now basic. And this is where a good majority of basic programs are stored on this diskette, along with the integer basic interpreter itself. And so as you can see, it keeps going here. And now that we're at the prompt again, we're going to first load basic by typing L. It's going to ask us for what file we want to load. We're going to type basic. And since this is a machine code program, it's going to output this ADDR question for us here. This is essentially asking us if the default address for this basic file, which is E1000 through EFFF, like it should be, it's essentially asking us if that's okay. If it's not, we can specify another range that we want it to be loaded into. However, since this is the default and the default is what we want, we're going to just press return. And then it's going to say 00 success. This means that BASIC has successfully been loaded, or injected rather, by the CFFA firmware into memory on our Apple I. And so now, let's say that we want to load Blackjack, for example. We're going to type L again to get to the load file command, and we're going to type Blackjack. It will say 00 success, indicating that Blackjack has successfully been loaded into the integer basic environment on our Apple I. And so we are going to type Q to quit out back to Wasmon. And then we simply do a E2B3R into the basic environment, type run, and then there we are, Blackjack. So another really neat thing that you're able to do with the CFFA1 system is load machine code programs. And so on our root directory of this ProDOS diskette, you can see that we have a directory named mcode. This is where all of the machine code programs on the diskette are stored. And so I am going to, again, prefix the directory, mcode, and this will allow us to change it into the directory. And so I'm going to catalog the directory. And as you can see, we have quite a few different Apple I machine code programs that can be ran pretty much instantly. And so, with that said, let's go ahead and try running the 30th anniversary Apple program. So to do this, we are going to go into the load file command and type Apple 30th. It will ask us for an address in which we want to load it in other than the default address for the file, which is 280, I believe, through, gosh, I don't know the end address, but that's fine. So let's just press return, and it will say success. And so, just like BASIC, if we quit out of the firmware menu there, and then type the start address, which in this case is 280, append a run to it, and it will run the software. And just to give you an idea of what this program prints, we're going to increase the CPU speed. As you can see here, it prints different images for Apple's 30th anniversary. Alright, so before ending the video, there's one last thing that I would like to demonstrate. That being the ability to write your own user programs to the emulated disk image that you have mounted into the emulator. And so this is pretty simple. Basically, there are two different functions that allow you to write machine code programs that you have in memory to a disk image that you have mounted onto the emulator. And then there's another function in the menu that allows you to save a basic program that you've written in integer basic to the disk image that you have mounted. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this works by writing a few small demonstration programs and then saving them to this mounted diskette here. And so first I'm going to write a Wasmon program. I'm going to quit back to the Wasmon prompt, and within the 300 through 3FF range, what I'm going to write is just a simple loop that prints out the L character and then just keeps repeating that print routine over and over again until it is terminated by the user. Alright, so now that we have our program in memory and ready to go, we're going to launch back into the CFFA1 firmware by typing 9000R, and here we are on the firmware. And so let's just go ahead and pull up the menu again so we can see what's the command to write a machine code program to the mounted diskette is. And as you can see here, it is W for write file. And so we're going to enter W, and it's going to ask us to write from an address. And essentially this is the starting point of the program that you want to write to the disk that's currently sitting in memory. And so we're going to enter 0300 for address 300, and then the length is going to be the end of the program. So that would be up here, we do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 0, 3, 0, 7. And then it's going to ask us for a type. And it's already selected as binary format, which is fine. And then it wants us to name it. And so I'm just going to give this the name test, and it is going to save the program. And so now, if we catalog this directory that we're on, which is the root directory of the diskette, you'll see that test is listed there. And so now we can load file, test, and it will ask us if we want to choose a different address from the default specified one, which we specified in the creation of the file. Which is 300, that's fine. And it will say success there, quit back to Wasmon, 300R, and we'll get our program. And so that's how you can write machine code programs, but I haven't showed you yet how to write basic programs, which follows a very similar procedure, but it's just a bit different. And so I'll go ahead and show you that now. Alright, so I have a small test program entered into integer basic, which just prints hello world over and over again. So if we run this, you'll just see that this is the output. And so essentially, we're going to go back to Wasmon by doing a call to -256, which will drop us back into the Wasmon entry point. And then we're going to do 9000R to go back to the CFFA1 firmware. And we are going to, again, type a question mark so we can see what the menu is. And it says to save a basic program, we type S. Alright, so we're saving in the wasbasic format, which is integer basic. And it's going to automatically grab all of your program line numbers. The firmware will automatically detect the beginning and end of your basic program, so there's really no technical configuration to do here like there was with the machine code programs, as in you don't have to enter in addresses to save the program, to the diskette. Instead, you can just type a file name that you want it to have when it is saved to the disk. And so we'll just do this test hello as the file name. And there we go. It is a success. And so we will now do a load file we will do test hello, and then after that, it will say that it was a success, and we will quit out to Wasmon, do an E2B3R, and then we will run the program, which will result in our hello world output. And so that, in a nutshell, is essentially how you can save both machine code programs and integer basic programs that you've written to a diskette file that you have mounted onto the CFFA1 firmware. This has been a demonstration of HoneyCrisp version 1.3.4, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please be sure to subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it.